Hi, my name is Jesper Christiansen, and I'm 25 years old, and I'm in my second semester now of my master's studies, English and History as a teacher, and I spent 8 months in a small town near Birmingham as an assistant teacher. Well, for language skills, I think my English wasn't quite good already when I went over there. At least that's what people told me as soon as I came there. So I think I'd rather. One of my friends there said that I polished a rough diamond, basically. I threw out a few American words and into the English words for it, and so I think I just polished it in more of a British way than an American way. Although there are probably still quite a lot of American words left, but. For the cultural competence, I think because I lived and worked there, I was among the culture that I wanted to know about. And I think that helped a lot, because I was not just a tourist watching from the outside, but every day I went to work with all the other English people that went to work. And I think that helped a lot, just having the insider perspective of English or British mentality a bit. And for my career, I think, especially because I went to school and worked at a school and I taught children, I could also try myself out. Can I work with children? Do I want to work with children? Do they accept me in a way, or do they think I'm just stupid? Are they annoying to me? All these kind of questions. And also, I definitely gained a lot of confidence in my English skills. Although obviously the job was kind of a soft version of teaching, so I didn't have to teach large groups, but just smaller groups. But it was still just to test out the general school environment. So I think for a career it was really helpful as well. Well, there are definitely a lot of countries that I want to spend time in. But if I just look at my career, if I can say that, I definitely want to go to the US. Because I think if I will mainly teach about English culture or British culture and American culture, at least mainly, obviously also Australia, but I think that it's a very good thing to have a good understanding, also an inside understanding of the culture that you're talking about, that you're teaching. I don't want just to teach that things that are in the book about cultures, because that's maybe 10 years old, because books are not very up to date. And it's not very authentic if you just say, well, I read in a book, that's the case. But it's probably not the case if you haven't been there. So I'd love to stay in America for a while, also trying to be in the American culture and not just from the outside like a tourist. And then obviously other countries, definitely Asia maybe. Maybe also, if you want to talk about English, maybe even Hong Kong, just because there's more English there, things like that. Well, I think as long as possible, obviously. So definitely 6 months. It's even better if you're staying longer. So I stayed 8 months. After that, I still thought I didn't want to leave. So I could have stayed for a year definitely, or even for 2 years. But I think it's also more important that how you spend your time. So definitely not try to behave like a tourist and to watch from the outside, because that's not going to get you anywhere. Well, you can say I was an American, it was good, and I saw this and I saw that, but you're not really into it, and dive in. If you want to dive in, then you need to somehow take on the insider perspective, and that's living in a host family, working somehow, maybe. If you're just doing Erasmus, maybe, because you're always surrounded by other Erasmus people from all other countries of the world, their English is not good, probably. They won't help. So try to meet Americans, try to live among Americans. That will help, or English, or wherever you are. That will definitely help. And then maybe even a 3 months stay can help getting a good view into the culture. But generally, I think as long as possible, and try to really be a part of the culture and not just a tourist from the outside. So I think it's definitely harder now. Because your timetable is so much busier, and there are so many things you have to do. Whereas a few years before, you had your certain goals and targets you had to reach, but throughout your studies, and not in the first semester you have to do this and that and that. So I think it's more difficult now than it was, but I think you can still do it. I mean, I made sure that I finished everything I had to do, except my BA thesis, and then I went abroad came back and just wrote my BA thesis. So it's still possible, but obviously you have to have one holiday semester, which is okay because you only have to pay, I think, €9 or something to keep it going. But it's definitely trickier, I think, because you have to worry about it. Well, with my program, they paid me to work, so I didn't have to think a lot about where do I get the money. It was enough to travel, but it wasn't that I brought a lot of money home when I left England. But that wasn't my goal in a way, and I don't think that's supposed to be the goal of going abroad anyway. It's not making money, but it's broadening your horizon and just gaining experience and growing as a person. But it was good that the money was enough to live, and I didn't have to have another job there. Also, I worked only a few hours, well, 12 hours a week. But I also had, or they asked me to stay longer sometimes to lead discussion groups with the sixth form students, or to prepare sheets for substitute lessons, which I was happy to do because I don't know, I felt a bit guilty also getting all the money for not doing a lot of work, but it was just a lot of fun, and it also taught me a lot. Just creating worksheets, a lot of worksheets, and thinking about ideas and seeing how long it takes somehow as well, just to create one basic sheet. So I definitely stayed more hours than I was supposed to, but I gladly did it, and I still think that even the hours I spent there that I wasn't supposed to spend there helped me a lot with, especially career-wise, just teaching skills and preparing lessons. Well, I mean, one possibility is always that they are afraid of testing their language skills in an authentic environment. It's easy to speak English at uni because no one really speaks perfect English here. Well, some of the teachers, obviously, and some of the lecturers, but the students are all quite good, but they're not perfect. So for them, it's easier. Whereas when you go to England, people maybe are afraid that that their language skills are not as good as they think they are. Maybe that's one possibility. Also, maybe some people probably are afraid of changing and of just the adventure of just going somewhere where you know no one and you know nothing, and you just have to start from scratch. You have nothing there, which I think was great. But obviously, some people don't. Probably they like their cozy environment where they know everything, where they know their way around. And probably also money issues. I think if you don't get a placement with the service that I went to, it's tricky to. I don't know how much it costs, but if you want to enroll in a university in the US, for example, it's quite expensive. So I think that's another issue that people have to worry about. But maybe also, well, I heard from I think I got lucky that I heard from this assistant teaching, because I don't think it's been advertised very well, and not a lot. And when I when I tell people what I did, a lot of people say, "Oh wow, how can I do it? Where can I do it? Where can I sign up?" Because people don't really know about these things, that they are other things than going Erasmus or doing it on your own, which is even more expensive. I think not a lot of people know about it, and they should really, it's difficult. You have to get information somehow, and I got lucky because I knew a person that went to England the year before I did. That was quite good because she could tell me a lot about it. But when I started my studies and I thought about where to go and that I had to go abroad, I had no idea how to do it and when to do it and where and what. It's just not a thing that you are very well informed about, especially about the different possibilities. Well, there are possibilities from the uni, and they inform you about them. But there are also, if you don't get a placement there, because the placements are rare and there are not a lot of places, I think, people have to know that there are other ways how they can go abroad, and that that's not the only thing. They don't have to go with Erasmus. They have other opportunities to go abroad.